Hey man, what's up? Every now and then I go out and I try to diversify what I'm doing around here at Big Baby's podcast. I know y'all get tired of just seeing me and the same old people talking about the same old stuff. And, we have to step outside of our comfort zone. I wouldn't even say our comfort zone. We have to step outside of our network to, talk to different people, get different perspectives, and hopefully grow the brand we have going on here. So, man, I got a special guest today. His name is Billy Nomad. I'm going to be honest with y'all. I don't know anything about Billy Nomad. I connected through Billy Nomad online, and he wants to come on the pod and do some talking, talk about some music stuff. So I'm like, man, come on, man. Here at Big Baby's podcast, everybody is welcome. So before I bring in Billy Nomad, let me get started with the hey, it's the Big Baby, and I'm back. But let me bring in my guest, Billy Nomad, man. Let's do this, man. Billy Nomad, what's up, dog?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm amazing.
It's nice to see you, Big Baby. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so happy to be alive today.
I'm happy you're alive today. I'm happy you're here with us. I'm happy you stayed awake, man. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, like I said, I've been staring at shop windows all day, and yeah, I've made it. It's 1 a.m. here. I've got 1 hour to go, and then I can just pass out where I'm sat. It's going to be great.
All right, so Billy, you said it's 1 a.m. here. Where is here?
I'm in the UK. I'm actually in a little town called Milton Keynes, which is kind of like middle of the UK. Really boring town. Yeah.
All right, man, that's what's up. So you're in Milton Keynes, UK. I had an artist on here a few months ago. His name is Sarah. He's from the UK. I can't get into the specifics of the UK. I don't remember, but his publicist reached out to me and we set something up. So it was like a pretty cool vibe, man. So let's tell people who we are, because like this is my second UK artist. I might become a thing over there now,
Yeah. I think so. I think there's a big chance that you could become the next big thing. You could certainly take Chris Evans, Chris Morris, all the Chris's. You could take Alan Partridge and just blow them right out of the water, mate.
Honestly. Hey, that's what I want to do, man, because,
I'm already having so much fun.
Oh, man, I try to keep it fun and loose here, man. So, Billy Nomad, who are you?
Well, as the name illustrates, I am Billy Nomad. Hang on, I'm trying to frame. It's like trying to brush my hair in the mirror. Hang on. So yeah, I'm just a person, but I've kind of found my life in music, if that makes sense. Like something I kind of say to people sometimes: if my dad made chairs, I'd probably end up making chairs too. And because my dad was a musician, so I kind of became a musician, but really a lot of what I do is just going about my business, just being nice to people. It's kind of unpopular these days. I just kind of be nice to people. And yeah, just basically go about my business. I make music. I run a record label. I write books sometimes. I put together music videos for people. Yeah, generally, I do music and media. But otherwise, I'm just a human being in it.
Okay, so I want to get into the music piece. I think it's super important to talk about the music piece, especially for the topic that you reached out to me about.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
But before we go there, you talked about being nice to people and how it's become an anomaly. Like being nice to people is just so hard to find, especially when you don't know the person and you don't have any credibility with people. And I find it nuts that people think that, oh, I don't know you, I don't have to be nice to you.
Yeah, it's become deeply unfriendly lately. Have you noticed that? Over the last 10, 15 years especially, I've noticed there's this decline where people just think it's okay to be unfriendly and rude, and it's crazy. I don't know what it's like where you are, but certainly here in the UK, it's like there's this air of like, I don't want to know you, mate, and it can be really intimidating at times.
It is, and I'll tell you, I blame it on social media, right? Because initially social media emboldened people to hide behind their profiles and say things that they would never say to people in person.
It kind of depersonalizes it in a way. You kind of feel okay saying it to an avatar, right?
And now you've been doing it so long to avatars that it carries over to your actual real life, and your just overall people skills are terrible. Like you don't know how to say nice things to people. You don't know how to truly express yourself in a way. And I think we've lost a certain level of empathy with people because we've become so disconnected, man. And that's what scares me about the metaverse. I don't want to go too deep into that.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, man, we
scary.
could, but what? Yeah, honestly, that is another level of kind of detachment from reality and just like permitting this other reality to just set your moral groundwork. And it's like I'm a Taoist. I'm not necessarily like a practicing religious Taoist, but I believe in Taoism as like my central philosophy, and that's all about nature, man. It's all about like this fundamental layer of the universe, which is the way. And so the whole metaverse thing is just kind of like, well, that's not the way. I mean, I fully accept it as like an entertainment medium and like a thing to have fun on. Like I do like reading a book, watching a film, but some of these people that are propagating this are hoping that we'll spend our entire lives in it, and that spooks me, man. But I don't think people will buy into it en masse. I really, really don't. I think, yeah,
I I hope that we don't for the sake of society, but best believe I'm gonna find a way to produce media that goes into the metaverse because if people are gonna be there hanging out, I need to be in there getting some views, getting some money. So
yeah. I will end up doing gigs in the metaverse. It's like, who was the guy that did a gig in Roblox? I do stuff like that, you know. It's like if it saves me leaving my house, if I got a hologram sort of camera here and there's an emitter somewhere else, you know, that won't be so bad. But I will still want to go out and play to 100 people in a pub somewhere. Like there's nothing beats that real feeling. But then, you know, who knows what the future holds?
I don't. I don't even try to guess what the future holds. I just try to
Just
prepare myself to live for it. And the interesting thing about what we're talking about is the lack of people skills that we're seeing is how are we going to get interviews like this where I don't know you, you don't know me, and we're having an organic conversation and we're already flowing. I mean, we're 7 minutes in, but
yeah.
you can talk, I can talk. So like, I'm like, oh, this is going to be an easy interview. Like,
Yeah, I guess it's the benefit of experience, isn't it? I mean, how long have you been doing podcasts for now?
Like almost 4 years.
4 years, yeah. I guess I've been doing radio since like 2010-ish,
Okay.
but then like really amateur, and then sort of like. But I guess it's that kind of like there's a lot of stress and a lot of fear that comes into like putting yourself out there in a real way, you know. So you kind of want to put a character on it. Whereas I've grown past that. I'm kind of like, nah, if people can see me for exactly who I am, I feel people value me more for that. I feel like I value myself more for that, and I feel like the people I draw towards me are more genuine because of that. So yeah, I think being real is where it's at, and a lot of people they haven't come to realize that because they haven't seen the real world consequence of that, or there's no real benefit in them seeing that, you know, it's better to be real.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is I've embarrassed myself before. I'm gonna embarrass myself again. And I'm
Yeah,
comfortable with the human being that I am. Like this is awful, but a lot of times I relate a lot of situations to trying to have sex with a young lady, right? A
right.
consenting young lady, obviously.
Okay. Yeah,
But
yeah. Okay.
but I've been goofy and it's worked. I've been serious and it's worked. I've done dumb shit and it worked. I've been like the coolest guy in the room and it worked. And in all those situations, it hasn't worked too.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know what I mean?
exactly. It's not necessarily just about one individual's behavior. It's about the whole environment. It's about the whole thing. You know, it's about her as much as it is about you, and it's as much about the setting as it is about the both of you. So yeah,
So like who cares if I do something that's slightly embarrassing? Like
yeah,
I don't care. Like so I put myself out here and I don't mind having conversations. I don't mind talking. Uh because I love talking, but with love and talking, man, let's talk about you. So you talked about you're an artist.
yeah,
You write books as well, and you run a record label. So I
yes.
want to hit all three. Now,
Okay.
which direction do you want to go first?
Well, let's start with the kind of the music, the artist thing, because that's really where I started as a person. I kind of grew up being a musician, so that kind of makes sense.
All right, perfect. So, what type of artist are you? Do you play instruments? Do you sing? What do you do? And what type of music do you make?
So I guess I started off like being insistently a drummer, and like I just kind of forced my dad to buy me a drum kit one birthday. And by forced, I don't really mean literally. It's like he kept on trying to teach me guitar, And I kept going, well, no, I want to learn drums. So eventually it got to a birthday where it was like, what do you want for your birthday? Drum kit, drum kit, drum kit. So eventually I got a drum kit, right? So, and then about 2 years later, I went, right, now I'll learn guitar. So then I'm a drummer, I'm a guitarist, and then because of those, I've kind of picked up some bass guitar. So then at that point, I'm just starting to become a multi-instrumentalist. And then when I start running the radio station in 2010, I meet a guy called Squan. So a guy called Josh Payne, right? But Squan was his, he's going under the name DJ Don't Panic at that point. And
DJ
he kind of
Don't Panic.
DJ Don't Panic, and honestly, his podcasts were absolutely insane, man. He was mixing like liquid beats with like electro house, and he was just doing some really really crazy stuff.
Okay.
And like mixing these weird like poppy chirpy acapellas with like these really hardcore dirty like electro songs. So it's just like immediately he made me see the comedy in electronic music, and then so I started to make electronic music as well. And out of that, I just started to produce all kind of music. I don't really do any sort of arrangement or anything like that. I tend to work a lot with actual instruments, and like just thinking about it, programming the music. But yeah, so I guess I under Billy Nomad, I just kind of make like this folky, punky, raw, guttural, like anti-capitalist, like anti-establishment, cynical sort of like dirgy diatribe, basically. So yeah, like it's something worth looking up because it covers a lot of different genres, but there's like a core style to it, which is which I think makes it Billy Nomad. But then all the electronic stuff now I put out under the name Coda Rushing, and that is so annoying because I spent like 15, 16 years working on Billy Nomad, and I spent 2 years working on Coda Rushing, and Coda Rushing is so much more successful than Billy Nomad has ever been. So, but it's just where the industry's at. People like electronic music, they like beats, they like that digital sound, that high fidelity sound, whereas that's never been what Billy Nomad's about. It's been as raw and lo-fi as possible. So it just goes to show it's often what people like dictates what's successful.
Right. So speak to that a little bit more, because you strike me as a purist, right? A music purist, but you're also somebody who understands that, hey, I got to make some money out here too. So that fight between making what it is that you love, the music that you really, really like, and then the music that keeps your lights on.
Yeah, and I mean, so yeah, I don't compromise on that. I'm kind of a moral philosopher, so like when it comes to the electronic music, I do love it and I do enjoy making it. The difference is it's a different production style, so there's less passion in the production, and then there inevitably is less passion in the performance. So it's all in kind of like the audience reaction that you get the passion from there. You're kind of like, yeah, people are loving this, so this is okay. Whereas like, yeah, kind of like I will always spend the majority of my time doing what I want to do and what I think is what I want to do. So Billy's where that's at, but then Coda Rushing is just kind of where I feed everything else that I make that I'm still passionate about, but I think is actually probably going to be more commercially successful or more interesting as music. It's a difficult balance to strike. It really is, because obviously I need to eat.
Yeah. and it's a thing that a lot of people who especially don't work in a creative space, they don't understand, like, because a podcaster, there are topics that I don't necessarily want to talk about, but those are topics that people want to be talked about.
Yeah. But talk about the current events, right? Because that's what people are going to click on.
Right. And it's like, do I want to talk about this current event that I think is stupid and beneath me?
Mm-hmm.
I still have a perspective.
Do I want to talk about celebrity culture? Probably not, but people want to hear it.
I did a pod, I think last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, that I have an obsession with celebrity obsession. Like, I'm obsessed with how people can be obsessed with people that they don't know. And
I hate celebrity worship. I really do. It drives me nuts.
Like,
it's insane, man. I don't get it. I don't want people to treat me like that. I've avoided success on that basis. I'm like, no.
And they're like, oh my gosh, I am so mad at Kanye for what he did to Kim. Well, do you know what Kim did to Kanye that like isn't public? Do you like?
Mind your own business, pal.
Right, like you've never met these people, but you are so passionate. Like, no, I'm Team Beyonce. I'm not listening to any more Jay-Z music.
Could you imagine? Right, your name's like Neil, and your wife Cassie. She sat next to you in the living room. And you're watching TV, and Kanye comes on. And he's like, "Did you hear what Neil did to Cassie?" You know, it's insane, right? Just like one person talking about another person just out of interest. And like the only reason Kanye is getting the interest is because he's putting himself out there as an artist, surely. So it's like, is he kind of offering himself out in that way, or is he just making music? Do you know what I mean? It's such a weird thing with celebrities. Like I feel like a lot of people that are in that celebrity space want that, and that's the life they've chosen.
You know what? I was having a conversation with a friend last night, and we were talking about some things, and it could kind of get a little dark. So I'm going to stay away from that side of it, right? Um, but it was about like the celebrity life, right?
Hmm.
And you look at celebrities, and I'm talking about real celebrities. I'm not talking about the Instagram celebrities, the Instagram models. I'm talking about people who are actually talented, like your actors, your actresses, your musicians, your high end athletes, right?
Hmm.
When they start off being good at what it is that they're doing, they may not be doing it for the fame or the celebrity, right?
No, often
But
not.
you get to a certain point in your life that you understand that if I'm good at this, I am now becoming a celebrity. So part of the money that you make for being good at this is because you're popular. And part of that popularity comes with a sorry, Jay-Z, you can't take your daughter for a walk because paparazzi's there. People are mauling you. Cardi B can't go to the grocery store. Eminem can't hang out where he's from. Like, all these different celebrities can't do things that are comfortable to them unless they're in like the cocoon of LA on the American side of the house, right? Where everybody's at, because it's like, okay, you blend in here. But you have to know at some point that this is the life you signed up for. And although it's stressful, although it's unfortunate, part of the reason why you can't go to the grocery store is the reason why you get to live in this house. Like, you have to take the good and the bad, even if you don't like the bad, right? You have to accept that there's going to be some trade-off there.
I feel like you kind of hit the nail on the head, because I feel like you get to this point in your career where you choose to step up, right? You choose to kind of go, right, now I want to go like pro, I want to go commercial, because there is enough money to live on at the level just below that. You know what I mean? If you just want $30,000 to $100,000 or $50,000 to $100,000 a year, then you can make that without being a commercial celebrity. You know what I mean? You don't have to. So you make that conscious choice, surely, to step up, or there's enough people around you encouraging you to do that. But my dad said to me years ago when I was like a wee baby, like, basically, fame is inevitably a side effect of going out and doing that on a commercial level. So, and I noticed it after I did like my first couple of UK tours, and I was constantly marketing. A lot of people around Milton Keynes, where I live, started to kind of go, "You're Billy Nomad." And it was usually around the city centres, around sort of like the Bletchley Town Centre where I live, where there was always posters up, where there was like, so I was kind of marketing those areas, and I myself was shocked when people going, "You're that guy." But of course, that's a side effect because I'm putting myself out there commercially. So yeah, I definitely get what you're saying. I think you definitely choose to step up, you choose to put yourself out there, and some people could be like, "Whoa," but actually, then don't do that.
Yeah, like, hey, make good music and don't put it out. Like, get with
Yeah.
your friends, keep it local. Because I was interviewing an artist from my hometown named Ladon a couple weeks ago, or not a couple weeks ago, Friday,
Yeah.
and we talked about how we're like local celebrities in our hometown now. And for me, it's super weird when I'm out having a drink or having dinner with some friends, and somebody for one, they call me Big Baby the Goat, and they know my real name. It's like, call me by my real name. And then they start talking to me about a podcast topic, and I go, "Hey, yeah, thanks for the support, but I'm trying to have a drink with my friends to watch the game." You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to talk
Hit
about
me up
that.
on Facebook, man. Hit me up in the comments.
But at the same time, I can't be mad at them for
No.
wanting to engage with me because I put myself out there. And once you put yourself out there, you open yourself up.
That's it. You've said to them, you've essentially, by doing that in your action, you've said to them, "I am open myself up as a commentator, and I want to discuss this topic." So them naturally in that environment go, "There's the guy who's the commentator that wants to discuss this, and now's the time."
Right.
You can't blame them, but there's some maxims forgotten there. They could have done with going, "Is this an appropriate time and place?" Probably not.
Right. And again, I still welcome it. I'd much rather people engage with me about a podcast than
Yeah, man.
not, because that means you're listening.
Yeah,
So
exactly. I used to work with a guy who got so many death threats, but he loved it because he was like, people are listening because they're listening through the podcast, and then they're listening through again to find out where I've contradicted myself earlier in the show. So it's like those sorts of people you can't buy, mate. They are so engaged with your show that, you know, all right, fair enough. If you love it that much, even if you hate me, at least you're engaged with what I'm doing. You know, it's like, sod it. I don't need you to like me. I'm just like amplifying the world. I'm just speaking what people are saying.
and for a lot of us who are comfortable with ourselves, we have friends who aren't our fans. They support us, but they're not our fans. And those people are the ones that keep you grounded. So like as long as you have that good circle, you're good. But let's get back to you, right? So you explain your artistry, passed down from your dad. You went from drums, which I'm happy you picked up the guitar because the guitar, the lead singer gets all the fun, right? Like
Yeah, I
nobody
didn't get
knows the
laid until
drummer.
I started singing, man. I played drums for years. Not one instance of getting laid.
Yeah, not a drummer don't get the drummer don't get none.
No, even the bassist gets laid before the drummer. The
Yeah, no,
bassist.
the drummer is what we call the trash man. He just kicks the trash. He doesn't get to pick what he wants. No, they don't.
He gets to cuddle with people after they've gotten laid.
So, but then you also run a record label, and I think
Hmm,
that's a totally different. That's not only are you an artist, but you're an artist with an ear. But more
hmm.
important than that, you're a leader
Yeah, I
because
tried to be. Yeah,
if you're running the label, that means you're also trying to put other people in a position to be their best selves.
that's
And
what it was all about. Yeah.
and so kind of talk about that, man. What's it like running a label as an artist? Because you have now an artist ear, but you also have an executive ear. So I know that when you hear certain things, you go, hey, musically, that's great. But only music nerds like us like that shit. Like there's some
Yes,
other people out here.
exactly.
You got to appeal to the people like me. I'm a casual music fan. I listen to music, but I don't. And I know if certain music sounds right because I grew up playing the piano, but I don't love music. I don't love it at all. So when it comes
You've
to
got the audience here, and which is something I think I now lack at this age because I'm so entrenched in the industry that, you know, I'd love to be able to take a step back and kind of go, how's an audience member just taking this at face value? You know?
you got, and you know what? I'll tell you, it comes with the people you put around you. Like one of my best listeners is my girlfriend, right? Because she does not have a podcast ear. She's not really into sports the way I am. A lot of the topics I talk about, they're not topics that are in her social media world, right? She's not into the mainstream celebrity worship bullshit. So when I play stuff for her, and if she likes it, I go, that hits because you don't care about this topic. And if you're not listening, you're not liking it because it's me. Like we're past that part in the relationship. It's like, oh, okay, I'm hitting the people who I want to hit, but I don't know that I'm hitting because they're not around me to tell me that, yeah, I don't really like podcasts, but I listened to that 15-minute blurb you did.
Yeah, exactly. It's so weird, sort of trying to find that balance between being an artist and being sort of involved in the record label because you're right. There's different ears and there's kind of different hats you put on. So when I'm coaching someone that's sort of in the genre that I'm in, I very much coach them that they need to be a horizontal practitioner. You know, they need to not rely on just streaming figures or like gig income. They need to also be a teacher or also learn to produce, mix and master music. You know, they need to kind of find a multitude of different trades within the field that they can get dribs and drabs of money out of so that they can actually achieve a practical lifestyle out of it. Whereas if someone's making sort of like really commercial music, then I'm going to say hit it hard, you know, like release a new single every single month if you can, every single week, even better. Get onto TV and film syncing agencies and like get your films in TV and films because then you're, especially with streaming services right now, you're getting streamed millions of times a day. You know, that's far outweighs anything that you're going to get on music streaming platforms. People don't really tend to listen to commercial music as much as they do listen to music attached to something else. So, say going to the supermarket and there's music on, or watching a film and there's music in the film. The music tends to be an addition to things now, so it can be kind of harmful to think about. Right, well, I'm solely going to hit this as I'm just promoting this song. So you got to kind of
make me care about the song. Why do you care about the song? There's a lot of good songs out there.
Exactly, it's saturated, man. It's like the topic I was going to bring to you. It's you've got this weird dichotomy at the moment.
Jump into the topic.
You've got this weird dichotomy where, like, we are sort of like now seeing all the technology is there for us to independently release anything we want, in any way we want. We can like kind of pull our resources and make music videos. That's never really been a thing before, because now we've got handy cameras that are 1080p, so they shoot the same quality that old cinema cameras used to. So you've got smartphones that shoot in 4K, and they are really good quality. Our last music video with Code Russian was shot on a 4K Huawei phone, and it looks amazing in 4K. There's a shot where we run up the grass at the beginning and you see every blade of grass, and it's just fantastic. Never had that before, right? So there's all these different various ways that from the very beginning an artist can be professional off the bat and be out there and be everywhere. But then you've kind of got this other thing going on as well, where the industry is kind of slowly being monopolized by like marketing corporations. So people like Facebook and YouTube and companies that really rely on people investing a lot of money in order to sort of get out to the first fan bases.
And they fuck the algorithms.
They seriously fuck the algorithm, man. I used to make a good living off of MySpace. And I say a good living, what I mean is I used to have a fan base in California, I used to have a fan base in Scotland, and it was going really well. And then as soon as Facebook launched and they fucked the algorithms, it's just been really hard to actually get out there regularly and get the consistency that I used to.
And that's the thing that it bothers me so much, because where our feeds used to be, hey, you see what's in your friend group as it posts. So you get to choose what it is that you want to do. Where now, based on what the post is and what the interests of the people are, that determines the amount of traffic you get, especially if you don't have a large organic audience who's going to tune into you no matter what. Because I remember during the COVID lockdown, right? And here in America, social justice, like that conversation was at an all-time high.
I saw it from here and it looked pretty spooky. Like, I would not have liked to live over there.
So I was in a good place where it's fairly safe. Nice. But I was knocking out social justice podcasts left and right. And my numbers were reflecting it.
Yeah, but.
And then I'm thinking that, oh, no, this is organic growth. And then I'm starting to put out my other normal stuff, the stuff that I actually want to talk about on a regular basis. Because I remember even coming on here and saying like, hey, I'm still in this social justice fight, but giving y'all 2 and 3 hours of this stuff a week is exhausting. Like it takes a lot out of me, because I'm also reliving things that are painful, because people don't realize when you come on here and you talk about stuff, like if it's not a good conversation, if it's not a fun conversation, like for me, like I do a lot of solo podcasts, just me, and I'm just giving my feelings on something.
Yes.
If you're actually passionate about that. And again, you make music, so you understand what it is, like writing the song, then performing the song. Like it can be a dope song, but that if you're talking about a breakup, man, that shit still hurt.
I'd still now, there's certain songs that I can't sing on stage without actually starting to cry. And it's almost like it appears to be part of the act now. And the thing that I would do exactly what you're doing, those solo podcasts, but I would end up coming across like Alex Jones. There's no doubt about it, because like the thing is where I get so emotive about issues and I get so caught up in issues where I'm like, I end up getting this little angry man inside me. So I'd walk away from these things not wanting to edit them, because I'd be like, no, I've been through that emotional state once, don't want to do that again. So you want to keep things light and positive, don't you? But sometimes that's not what people are into. It seems like the whole world's into all this negative media.
I can go on for days about the world media, and I saw that you're anti-establishment, and the way the media warps how people feel. Like I was having a conversation earlier today with this guy, and I'm like, man, do you not realize most people agree on about 70% of issues, and there's the 15 on this side, the 15 on this side that people are killing each other over? Like,
yeah,
it's not that like
it's massively exploded. I mean, there's that old Bill Hicks joke, isn't there? I think it's Bill Hicks where he's like, war, famine, murder, rape, war, famine, murder, rape. And he opens the curtains, it's just crickets. It's like we're often told that the world is much scarier than it is. And the thing is, this is one thing that I've discovered over the last couple of years where I've actually been able to study and like reflect and actually look at the world. Things are much worse than we're told they are, but in a completely wholly different way. There's other things that are going to kill us. I watched this thing of Brian Coxer and he's talking about all these asteroids and he's basically relating science back to Don't Look Up and going, well, actually, there's a lot of truth in this. And actually the social reaction we see, there's a lot of truth in that as well. So it's like, there's a lot of ways that we over the next 15 to 30 years could die out, and we're worrying about sort of like what brand of shoes we're wearing,
And we argue about so many social issues that don't affect us, right? And let's just use, golly, I hate to be this polarized, but I'm just going to use abortion, right? And
yes,
disclaimer, these are not our feelings on abortion. Like, we're not even going to get in our personal feelings on abortion because it doesn't fucking matter. But let's just say I am anti-abortion. I am pro.
All right, let's say I'm pro-abortion. Let's kill all the babies.
You're pro-abortion. We agree on everything else in life except for abortion.
Okay.
So now we hate each other because of abortion.
Yeah, man.
Here's the thing. With me being pro-life, if you are pro-abortion and you get a girl pregnant and y'all choose abortion, it does nothing to my life. Why the fuck do I care what you did?
That's an interesting thing, is it? Is what ways it affect you? Do you read Douglas Adams, the guy who wrote like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
No.
It's like it's a cool film that came out. It's like an adaptation of it. But basically, there's this one bit in one of the books where this alien spaceship like comes and lands right next to this tennis match, and no one cares. And what it explains it as, there's this special drive in the ship which is called someone else's problem, right? So basically, because it doesn't affect them and it's not in their little world, they just don't see it. And I think we're seeing that on the other side as well, where things that aren't affecting them, where things that really don't relate to their individual lives, that really aren't as big as an issue as they imagine, become these huge hyperbolic things that they're getting caught up. They're telling all their friends how angry they are about it. And that's not to trivialize, like, there are terrible things in the world and there are things that we need to be talking about. But that's part of the issue. I think we're not talking about them. There's very little discourse and communication, especially in the media. It's all like emotions and steering, and that scares me. It's like that's where the discourse needs to be happening, right?
It scares me too, because it's the reason why I'm trying to create my own media platform, because I want to be in the media and I want to have a nuanced, real and real. Everybody wants to be real, but like give a moderate view on things and not like this crazy hyperbolic view on stuff, because most things don't really upset me, and they don't upset you either, because at the end of the day, like, most of us don't know each other and we don't feel that pain. But it's so hard to do that because, again, we start talking about the manipulation of the algorithms. The stuff that gets the most clicks is like the stuff that I look at myself and I go, oh, I was so full of shit right there. I don't even give a fuck about that. I just said it because I knew it would upset somebody. So it works. You know what I mean? And
I look at some of the ways I used to act in videos and stuff. I'm like, that isn't me. I don't recognize that person. I was doing that because that was the YouTube personality. You go, ugh.
And the scary thing about it, man, is turning everybody into the same person,
Yeah. Especially the YouTube personality. You look at it, like, you don't succeed unless you adopt that personality. So everyone ends up with that personality.
Like, you got to be a ditzy girl with like fake lips, high cheekbones. You got to be racially ambiguous, and you got to have a BBL and a tummy tuck. At least that's what's coming over here in America. If you're a dude, you either got to be like this like overtly try so hard to be funny guy, but like your hit rate is like 30%. Like, you're not hitting on jokes. You're just putting out with shit.
I'm hearing like a lot of like baby voice from like guys on YouTube at the moment. It's like they're trying to do the cutesy thing like the girls are doing, and it seems to be working for them.
Yes, bitch, yes. Yeah. And I'm like, bro.
And it's like that overt comedy that's like try hard comedy, but mixed with that kind of like, I'm gonna act a bit like a baby. So it's like, and no offense to you, big baby.
No, none taken. Because but like, I'm a comedy purist. And I used to refer to myself as a struggling comedian who was afraid to do his first stand-up, right? Like,
Right.
and we'll get on the podcast and talk shit all day, but again, you perform. Getting on stage is different. And
Yeah.
getting on stage and talking and like entertaining is another thing. But then getting on stage and telling jokes, totally different thing, right?
Yeah, I just go into panic mode whenever I have to talk on stage. It's crazy.
But what I've seen that comedy is becoming, especially like this internet comedy, it scares me away from comedy because I'm long form comedy. I love the don't get me wrong, Richard Pryor, one of my favorite comedians. I probably pull more from Richard Pryor. Like it's funny, I was listening to a Richard Pryor special with my girlfriend a couple days ago or weeks ago, maybe. I don't remember. We listened to Richard Pryor special. And she goes, "You've taken a lot of stuff from him." I go, "Yeah." He's like the funniest comedian ever. But a guy like Dave Chappelle, and again, I'm not getting into the things that Dave Chappelle says, although I'm a Dave Chappelle fan. I appreciate
I've
his,
always appreciated his honesty. He's got a real honest
I
stuff.
appreciate his honesty from his
Yeah.
perspective, no
It's
matter
like
how
Jimmy Carr, so I don't know if you get Jimmy Carr over there, but he's got this really blunt, honest, and he says some horrible things, but he'll say, "I'm going to say something horrible now. I don't agree with it, but it's funny."
and that's the thing. But when you get into those comedians, and I haven't listened to this Jimmy guy, but I'm gonna take his information. I'm gonna get his name and look him up.
Jimmy Carr, man, is hilarious.
So the thing is that sometimes they'll tell a story that's not funny, but it makes you think, and you go,
It's
I barely
relatable, isn't it?
laughed, but fucking shit, you said this in a tone that I would have never received it from TV news. I would have never received it on a podcast the right way, but I received it from you in the way that I actually needed to receive it.
I think that you've hit something there, and that's quite interesting. I think as we move towards like consumer culture, like that kind of real life, relatable stand-up comedy thing doesn't really fly anymore. People on those quick, punchy jokes that are kind of like soft touch, like Big Macs, the Big Mac jokes. Whereas like back in the day, like you say, there's all these comedians that would not only get on stage and tell jokes, but would tell you stories about their lives. They'd have you laugh in 1 minute, cry in the next, just so they can make you laugh doubly hard 3 seconds later, you know. And I think that is being lost in part because of consumer culture. People want those quick dopamine hits. We're all dopamine addicts now. So
and bro, you can't do that in a minute long TikTok.
No, that's it. The whole world's going towards 45-second content, isn't it? It's like we've been talking for 40 minutes now. Like none of this is going to get watched.
No, it's not. And the crazy part is like when I like make my clips, right, and like these conversations are some of the hardest conversations to make social media clips. YouTube clips are easy because I can give a 10-minute on YouTube, right? Yeah. But you make these clips, and like there is something that you want to hear at the 2:30 mark, and then there's something you want to hear at the 4:50 mark. But if I don't have the other meat in there, the other minute and a half, the 4:50 is not going to make sense. But
exactly, yeah.
Fucking TikTok. Let me be an old guy for it. You TikTok fucks y'all don't understand this shit because y'all just want like. Here's the thing, y'all want a practice joke that we've done 17 times and 25, and it's like, nah, bro, that's not life. Life is raw. Yeah. Like this is a conversation.
Exactly.
I was talking to one of my young boys, and I'm going to bring him on the pod soon. Like, I love him. He's a TikToker, and he's doing well on TikTok. Like, TikTok flies him places and sends him money.
What does he put up on there, though? What's his content?
It's dad jokes and dark humor.
Nice. And that's okay. I like that. That's cool, man.
And so he was like venting his frustrations with me. He's like, man, I'm getting all these numbers on TikTok, but then if my joke is too dark, TikTok will take my shit down. And I'm like, hey, we were doing this before y'all were this big, and this is why we're this big. And now we got these snowflakes complaining about what we're doing. But you're paying us because we were doing this shit. And I said, hey, man, you got to start going direct to consumer. I'm like, hey, my podcast is on YouTube. It's on Facebook. I put clips on Instagram. It's on Apple, Spotify, Google. Like, you name the platform that it's on. It's on there. My podcast is there, but you know where it's also at? It's on my website, bigbabythegoat.com. So if everybody gets mad at me,
still there.
It's still there. because
Exactly, and it's like I said about Alex Jones earlier. That's what he ended up having to do. It's what a lot of people that are willing to kind of challenge that narrative are ending up having to do now. They're getting unhosted, and so they're having to host themselves.
and it's
Right?
bullshit what they did to Alex Jones. I'm not a
Yeah, I let the man speak because honestly, you got to shine a light on these things. You know, it's discourse. The world is a conversation. You can't just go sharp. I'm done talking now.
But let's get back. Let's get back to the conversation, right? Because I know
Sure.
all these. What we're saying is it stems off of where it came from. But
Right.
you were talking about the artists on the lower end of the artist totem pole, right?
That's right. Yeah, and the thing is that now that that space has become accessible, it has become a bit oversaturated to the point that there is less money to go around. There's more people willing to do sort of a lower quality job for next to no money, and so basically where we found ourselves is we're at this point where musicians have a lot of access to their career, but it's been mostly monopolized by over here. So, and I believe it's the same in America, the two
Absolutely.
major record labels. You got I think Universal and then Sony, and they basically own everyone and everything. And so because of that, you end up having to invest stupid amounts of money in your career. And adding to something I said on a podcast earlier before I was chatting to you, you end up in this position where you don't even know what your career looks like. You don't know what the ladder looks like. So you just go around in circles going, shall I release another song then? It's like I didn't actually start making legs until I went and worked at Argos. It's a big shopping company here, home retail group. I worked in their marketing department for I think 3 or 6 months or something like that. I learned so much working in retail marketing about the music industry. It's like that. You need to know sort of like marketing. You need to know networking. You need to know sort of like you don't just need to know like production and releasing music. Those things actually, if you don't know the other stuff, that just doesn't help you out at all. You end up going around in circles.
Oh man,
So
look, that's my current struggle now. Is that I know that the marketing piece is important.
yes, yeah, it's
It's
so
the
important,
most. It's the
hugely.
most. It's the most important part. But as a true creator, because yeah, I pod, I talk, but again, I told you the comedy aspect. I like to work stuff in. Like I enjoy my writing process.
Mm.
I don't want to do that. And again, I know
Yeah, yeah.
I know that for this to be for this to become my day job, I need, or either if I'm not doing it, I need somebody on my team to care more about marketing than we do about content, because marketing beats content any day of the week. And we all know that.
I'm going to save you. I'm going to save you, my friend. I'm going to blow your mind with a little bit of coaching that I was given last year. And it's something called, or at least a term that I've coined, it's called network marketing. Right. So forget, investing in adverts and stuff. I've done that for years and it has actually helped push my streaming a bit. But yeah, what it's all about is basically understanding what industry you're in and going to places where people in your industry are. Make friends and influence people, because it's not what you know, it's who you know. And those things will actually help you to get opportunities, to learn, to start to market, to get other people, like you say, find someone who wants to market for you. Well, if you go out to them, I don't know if you have them over in the States, but we usually have like these networking events that set up here. They're just like parties and offices. I say parties like drinks, and someone gets up at the front and chats. You go to those things, they're boring as hell, but you meet people. And you go to 100 of those, you've met a lot of people, and sooner or later you're going to find people who want to get on board, want to be in your team. And that's network marketing, basically, is marketing yourself through a network rather than through a social media platform or stuff like that. Because you end up spending so much money. I think we earned $600 over the last 2 years from our streams, and I must have spent about $350 on marketing. So we haven't actually we haven't turned over a profit. We've only turned over a small profit there. That's what's that, $150, $250. So,
And I'll tell you, I started like, anytime I'm posting something, I started boosting them. And I go, okay, this is getting
it
me.
works for a while, doesn't it? But
It was getting numbers,
mm.
but it wasn't getting consistency. Like it wasn't necessarily bringing in followers. It wasn't bringing in a lot of new stuff. I'm like, so hold on, I'm paying for this, but it's not bringing in consistency. It's like
Yeah, they don't tell you about the bid system. They don't really tell you sort of like how competitive it is, and they don't really tell you that that's not really it. You don't want to just be sort of like putting ads. You've got to basically be nurturing a community at the same time. So being like
Yes.
really present on your Facebook page all the time, post all the time, lots of content that isn't yours, and then sort of boosting the post and being engaged in that. It's
And,
such a trick. It's like you say, you need to be a marketer. You can't
right.
make the content and do that.
And the
It's like,
problem is, I also work a 9 to 5.
right, yeah, exactly.
So like I work a 9 to 5. I create content. I'm a one man band right now. Like, I mean, like I'm gonna chop up this video and send it and send it to you. You know what I mean? I'm uploading this shit to YouTube. I'm making the IG cuts. I also have a social life.
Yeah, man, you got to like, and if you don't, you end up this weird alienated person that doesn't really get life. So you end up just sitting in a room raving, and people are going, "No, man, you don't get it."
And as a creator, you can't be a great creator if you stay inside either.
No,
you got to get outside. You got to feel the people, which is why I'm scared of the metaverse, because I don't want to have to go to the metaverse to experience life.
Yeah, man, I totally get you. It's like my life is very much in the real world, and it seems weird. Something that got said earlier about the metaverse. I can't remember who it was watching it. I can't remember, but basically, it's that whole thing about not wanting to go outside and like oh that was it, yeah, basically everyone will be on it, so you'll get to this point where you still want to go outside and you still want to like do things outside, but then everyone else is on it, so you end up having this thing where like, well, I need to be where everyone else is. It's a natural human thing to be drawn towards where everyone is, to be a part of a community, so you won't want to be outside in the world on your own. You want to go in.
How do you feel about conspiracy theories?
Do you know what? I think there's always an element of truth to something, even if it's not necessarily what stands out as like the headline of the conspiracy theory. So it depends on the theory, yeah. But I was part of the Zeitgeist generation. Do you remember Zeitgeist?
No.
Oh man, there's something that came out I think in about 2001, but it's this 3-part, like one of the first forebearers of conspiracy theories of the internet. But it talked about religion, the economy, and I can't remember what the third topic was, but it basically broke down these 3 aspects of society and told us how much of a lie it was. And like, yeah, every conspiracy theory that's come out afterwards, especially the QAnon sort of field of conspiracy theories, they definitely lend themselves to that, like everything's a lie, whereas I don't believe that. I think things can be interpreted in multiple ways.
So can I push a conspiracy theory to you that I just
Go
thought
on.
well, since we've been sitting here?
Yeah, go on, put a red pill on my head.
COVID was the setup for the metaverse. And here's why.
Go on.
They made us so comfortable not going outside in so many places that we normalized doing everything from home, whether it was work. Zoom and Teams are great, but a meeting across from somebody is even better, because if somebody says something stupid, you see people's body language go, what the fuck is he talking about? But when you talk about there are going to be people who want to go outside, but no one else is going to be outside. So they're going to stay inside. So they're going to end up on the metaverse.
Yeah.
And now we're going to spend all this time in the metaverse, because like this hat I got on right now, put the bottle down hat, my own custom hat. I got to go buy that to wear it in the metaverse.
Yeah, exactly.
And what if I produce the hat, but I got to go buy black hats to put my logo on it, right? So now I got to go get my own hats produced that I actually own in real life, but I still want to market myself in the metaverse, right?
Yeah.
So
you
now
end up having to consider this whole other reality that you've got to learn the framework of.
Right. So not only because you're anti-capitalism too. So not only am I spending money to survive in real world, because I got to pay an internet bill, I got to pay an electric bill, I got to pay for rent at least to get in the metaverse. But now I'm also spending more money in the metaverse, and the same people who are in the metaverse manipulating the metaverse are the same people who are getting paid on the outside too. Am I crazy?
You're not entirely crazy, and it's funny. I saw a really great analysis of like basically why Mark Zuckerberg's metaverse is going to fail, and what it basically said.
I was talking to, and you can explain real quick. I'm gonna cut you off because I'm an asshole and I'm a narcissist.
No, please go.
But I was talking to a mentor about it, because he was putting me on game with the metaverse. He was like, Zuckerberg has entirely too much control. He wants too much control. There's too many people who want to be real players in the metaverse that Zuckerberg's metaverse won't go. But tell me about yours.
So basically, similarly, what Mark Zuckerberg doesn't seem to have figured out is the metaverse exists. It's existed for a long time. Everything he states in his promotional videos is things that people are already doing. When he goes on about, like, oh, you'll be able to step into a world with your friends. Well, that was on PlayStation Home like 10 years ago, and if you have a VR system now, you can do similar things. Skyrim, there's patches so that you can play that multiplayer in VR. So now you're in this enormous fantasy land with all of your friends, able to fight off dragons and stuff like that. So, and he's talked about the technology, and his entire vision for the technology is Oculus. Whereas actually there's now technology development companies that are looking at making it smaller, more comfortable, more ergonomic. So, he's pushing for things that he's one step behind innovation, is what I'm saying. And that's exactly what this video is saying. It's like he's trying to create something that's already there. He's just trying to get his market share of it while he can. But what's in? Go on.
For one, Mark Zuckerberg is a fucking nerd.
Alien. He's a fucking alien, man.
But he's like the smartest, most picked on nerd who said, "Hey, you know what? Fuck you guys. I'm gonna get you all back." Right?
Yeah.
And he's done it. Shout out to him.
Full respect to the alien man.
Because here's what's gonna happen for a lot of people. He can be a step or two behind, but he can pay to catch up because he makes it convenient. He has all of us on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, that's the thing. He does have the user base in terms of platforms. So in terms of the social media space, he owns it.
So he gets to be lazy, and he doesn't have to be innovative. He just waits for you to innovate, and then he buys you out, or he takes your idea, and then, okay, you want to really take me to court? I'll stretch this out all day long, baby. I will run you dry.
Exactly. Look where the personal data is, and I think we're kind of lucky that there was those over here, that there was some European Union initiatives to kind of prevent Facebook from not only taking the amount of data they were taking, but also selling the amount of data they were selling. So our whole advert targeting system's been changed over here. We have way less demographics. We have way less access to data. But yeah, when you look at where the data is, and that's the most valuable commodity in the internet, it's basically with social media, especially that personal information. So what people are talking about every day, what they're looking at every day, what they click on, what they don't click on, all of that's essentially owned by Mark Zuckerberg. So it's like, interestingly, what Google did, they made a loss for years and years and years and years and years, and then when it benefited them most, they went, right, and now we're going to launch all of our flagship technologies. And look at them now; they're the biggest technology conglomerate in the world. So yeah,
man. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if Fairly Odd Parents made it over there.
Yeah, man.
But there was that one episode where Timmy wished everybody would look alike, and they turned into gray blobs. And that's what Zuckerberg wants everybody to do, because he was picked on as a kid, so he wants everybody to look alike. And
that's not just him; that's capitalists.
Oh yeah. Well,
the whole capitalist system is set up about like predictable things, right? And that's why data has become so important to them. So what they really like is if all humans were these grey blobs that they could just predict their every behaviour, so they could fine tune this product. Let's say green paste. So that they could just mass produce green paste and give it to all the grey blobs and collect their profits. They'd be fucking rolling in it, mate. They'd be happy.
And you see the fucking Bezos brain chips about to start getting tested on human beings.
Won't work.
I hope not.
Hey, I happen to know a little bit about the technology, and it won't work.
You know what? I'm gonna trust you, because I mean it's not gonna work on me, because he won't get a chance. Question though. We talked about some UK stuff, and we got about 7 minutes left.
Go on.
Can you talk to me about Brexit a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because I voted for Brexit, which is like kind of an unpopular thing to say right now, and it has been for a few years, but I'm not ashamed of it, because, we were given a choice and we made the choices we made. Yeah, Brexit was kind of a weird, contentious issue, because what you saw there was historically politicians being quite divisive about whether or not to be in Europe. Mm-hmm. And so essentially they, under David Cameron's leadership, the wet willy, he decided to go, let's trigger this shit. Let's do this shit. Let's see what happens. Right now, this is a referendum. Okay, so it's essentially a public opinion poll. It would have been unpopular to take a public opinion poll and go, yeah, but we're not going to do that. But it was a public opinion poll. If they really thought that it was going to put the country at the risk, it's going to put it, there should have been a full risk analysis, and then go, nah, that's going to fuck the country up. So let's inform the public again. If we do this, it's going to fuck the country up. Do you still want to do it? You know. And there was this whole thing like, we can't have a second referendum. We can't have a second referendum. We can't have another referendum. No, when you're doing something that is so, you know, which is so, what's the word for it? So revolutionary to a nation, you need to have a lot of public discourse about it. You need to keep on going back to the nation and going, right, this is the next step. What do we do? Because I think there's a weird dichotomy in UK politics. It's never been public representation. It's always been run by elites. When it handed over from the monarchy to the parliamentarians, that was one group of elites taking it from another. You know,
it's the same, it's the same in America, and they tell us that that anybody can get in, but once you get in order for you to stay in for another term, you
play the game, man.
Yeah, you know. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that's it. It's just meat puppets at the end of the day. So what happened with Brexit here is that there was very little public information. So I feel like people voted for 2, perhaps 3 reasons. And I think there was the anti-establishment, anti-globalist, so basically my angle, where it's just kind of like any excuse to say, no, we want socialism and we want to have public discourse and we want to have, democracy, actual democracy back, you know. And then,
hold on. You just said you want socialism and actual democracy. You better stop making sense over here.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, there's been a lot of like muddy in the water of what that actually means. So socialism can be democratic, but you have to look at sort of like a more developed form of socialism, not like Nazi socialism.
No, socialism is communism. If you ask the uninformed.
Yeah, no, it is. It's like it's really weird because communism is definitely sort of like, it's like the basis of a political system. It's kind of saying, okay, so like everyone is looked after, everyone has everything. Socialism is kind of like how that's administered by the state, right? So it's kind of like the systems, the framework of which the system would administrate that. But it's lovely how you go like communism, socialism, like they have been so inextricably tied together. And they've become stigmatized, massively stigmatized, because when you look at it, what's at the heart of all of those things, when you take away any political allegiance, when you take away any leveraging of power, it's just people going, I care about other people as much as I care about myself, and I want them to have the same opportunities I have. So why is that evil?
and like, listen to this, because over here you start saying socialism. That's worse.
Yeah, people freak out. Right?
That's worse than saying motherfucker. You know, like,
I'm really sorry, motherfuckers. Don't worry, I'm an anarchist. I'm not a socialist, so don't worry.
But like when you start speaking on the socialism piece, right, and you start saying, hey, you know those fucking tax breaks for those rich fucks?
Yes,
those are socialist policies. And then the super American capitalists go, no, the government's trying to take our money. Like, yes. The government is trying to take your money because you make more of it, and they are trying to spread that around. That's also socialism, taking your money and passing it around, because it's helping the social good of the entire country, of the nation, right? But also them not taking your money and saying, hey, if you put it here, you put it there, it's no longer taxable. It's the same kind of thing where you're complaining about people getting handouts, but you're mad at poor people for getting handouts who actually can't afford it, whether they choose to make enough money to live their life or they don't.
Because they want to be a part. They want you to be a part of their subscriber lifestyle, where you're essentially paying them monthly to keep their lifestyle going. I'd leave you with this, because this is actually one of the most revolutionary things that someone has said to me. It's my housemate Nick, who's just on the other side of that wall there. But he said, and this is paraphrasing, of course, but most of the problem with the developed West is that it is socialism for the rich and it's capitalism for the poor. You know,
you're fucking right.
It's true. We have to live under capitalism. Well, they get to like make deals between themselves. They all get to live fairly. They don't get taxed. They do get taxed, you know, but not proportionately. It's crazy, man. It's a crazy world we live in. But yeah.
Hey, Billy Nomad, I love this, and I kind of took from the beginning that we could have went down this rabbit hole, and
Oh, massively.
once we sign off, and I'll talk to you where we're no longer recording. I'll explain to you why I didn't want to go down too deep
Okay.
in this rabbit hole. But man, I really enjoyed it. It was a great time.
It's been
Hey,
wonderful talking, man.
hey, make sure send me some links to all of your stuff. So when I upload this, that we have all that stuff in the description. I'll send
Nice.
I'll send a video over for you to go through to make sure you're good with it before we air it. We'll look to air it either this weekend or early next week, whatever works best for you, man.
Nice one, dude. Thank you so much.
Hey, no, thank you so much. I'm so happy you came on, man.
Big baby.
Big baby out.